Welcome back, Mama, to episode number 3. I am so excited that you're here today. Here's a little sneak peek of what you'll be listening in. Today, I'll be having a conversation with my good friend and my mentor, Kathi Hausmann, who in herself has helped me process emotions and help me recognize how to take care of myself. And today, that's the conversation we're going to have, is how we can take care of ourselves emotionally, especially as moms, when we have to handle not only our own emotions but our child's emotions, our spouse's emotions, or the people around us. And so we're going to provide you tools today of how to handle and to process the emotions that you feel every day. And remember, Mama, your emotions are not a terrible thing. They're a beautiful gift from God, and we're going to help you and provide you the tools today to see how God can help you with this beautiful gift. Hey, Mama, welcome to Building Yourself with Grace, the podcast for Christian moms growing in faith, mindset, and motherhood, one grace-filled step at a time. I'm your host, Jenna Asera, a faith-filled mom just like you, walking through the beautiful, holy, and messy in-betweens of motherhood. I know what it feels like to feel overwhelmed, weighed down by mom guilt, and stretched thin trying to do it all. As I go through life, I've learned this. With God's grace, we don't have to chase perfection. We can renew our minds, find strength in Christ, and grow into the women He is calling us to be. Here you'll find honest conversations, encouragement, and practical tools to help you build your life from the inside out. So grab your favorite drink, take a deep breath, and let's start building yourself with grace. Hey Mama, welcome to today's episode. I am so excited for you tuning in. But before we get started, I have an important announcement to make. I am offering an amazing one-on-one coaching program for over an 8-week span. I help you, amazing Christian moms who feel overwhelmed, who feel stuck, and who feel like they've lost themselves in motherhood. It's called The Grace-Minded Mom, and it's all about helping you understand thoughts that lead you to guilt and shame, reminding you your true identity, and giving you the mindset tools week by week to help you become the woman and the mom God intends you to become. If that sounds like something you want to invest into your life, reach out to me on buildingyourselfwithgrace@gmail.com, where we can hop on a free 30-minute phone call and see if this is a good fit for you and if this will help and impact your life. I can't wait to meet you, Mama, and help you, and let's get back to the show. Hello, Kathi. Welcome to the show. I am so excited to have you here today.
Thank you for having me. This is going to be fun.
Oh, it's going to be so much fun. For those who don't know Kathi, first of all, she is my best friend and my mentor in life. She's just so incredible. I'm going to read to you a little more about what Kathi is, but first of all, I just want to say I'm just love her to death, and I'm so excited that she's my first guest on the show, and she's going to hear sharing her story with you. And I hope that you as mamas out there can relate to her and feel just how amazing she is. And I hope her story inspires you today. So a little bit about Kathi. So her name's Kathi Hausmann, and she is the middle child of 9 children, which is a lot. I can't imagine how busy you were. I grew up she grew up on 50 acres in a small town in northern Arizona, eastern Arizona. She had a ranch and had little cattle drives growing up, and she learned to work hard and play at the same time. Her papa and dad taught her gospel principles while they were doing work on the ranch. She learned to love the gospel from her parents, and were close. They were very close as a family and learned to love being with each other. She has been married for 32 years and has 2 married children. She has started working from home about 10 years ago after her children left home, and she is now working full time at home with clients, helping them release their emotional traumas so they can move forward in their lives. She loves traveling within and outside the United States and loves trying out new flavorful and colorful food. So,
Thank you.
so I'm so excited. So first of all, of course, this is about you and your amazing story. So, Kathi, would you be willing to share a little bit of your story and what led you to this amazing work of helping others process their emotions and building resilience in their emotions?
Yeah, so growing up, my dad, he had a PhD, and we always say marriage and family counseling, but I was looking at a certificate the other day because we were going through stuff, and I think I don't know what it is actually. It starts with a P. It's not psychology, that P. It's a different one. But anyway, so I grew up with him. He took us to BYU. We stayed in an apartment. So me on down, well, the younger kids were always in our small town, but he went to college with us. And so he was just always a psychologist to me. And people always called him Dr. Wilhelm. But I really understood the psychology part of people. So when I went to college, I wanted to become a psychologist. And then I switched several times. And then I got pregnant with my son. And so I had to not continue college because I got really sick. So I've always wanted to help people. And in my childhood and even up through school and high school and everything, I was always talking with people. But I wanted to be able to help people, not just be there when they wanted to talk. And so I went through my own recovery work program through circumstances of my marriage and loved it. And I call it my unofficial bachelor's degree. And so I learned the clinical side from that, and then I found what I do now, which is called the integrative processing technique, and it's through the School of Institute of Healing Arts that Pam Robinson started. And so that is what helped me step into what I have always wanted to do after I was a stay-at-home mom, and that is to help people with their emotional, mental, physical, any type of trauma actually, and help them release that. And so, yeah, just kind of wanting to help people. So it's been there my whole life, but I'm able to do it.
That's honestly so incredible. Like it's amazing how just small little things in our life can lead us to rather or a different path or one other path. And so as you were going through this journey, Kathy, because yeah, you had a lot of little things going in your marriage, which has led to you in this a lot in this journey. How did you handle that like how did you develop that emotional resiliency over time? Because like as moms, I think we all can relate that it's sometimes expected of us to handle all the emotions around us, our children's emotions, our spouse's emotions, those we serve emotions, our parents' emotions, our siblings' emotions. It goes on to a point where like we don't even know how to feel for ourselves, and then we don't know how to regulate our emotions because we're always worrying about everyone else's. So tell me a little bit about your journey there as a mom, and I'm sure it was really rough in the beginning of your journey, and I would love to learn how you developed that and you learned and grew from that.
Yeah, so because I'm from nine, um, I always wanted a whole bunch of children. So when I was little, probably third grade, I remember specifically I had the names picked out and didn't make sense the names, but I was younger, and so I always wanted a lot of children. And my mom kind of made it easy, or seem easy. And so your question, there was so much. I'm trying to figure out how to put it down into one. But so when I got older, I wanted to have a lot of kids. And so that was not the case. We only had two, was not my choice. But I think the Lord was speaking through my husband because now I kind of know why on this side of it. Now that the kids are out of the house, I'm able to step into the work he wants me to do. But in the beginning, when I had my kids, I went through a lot of spiritual things. So let's just put it this way: I did not behave how my mom did. I was surprised about how angry I got, and I only had two children. And I think, like you were saying, it's like we just have these emotions and we're like, oh my word, where did these come from? Like, I can be kind when I'm at a party and, at a dance or at this or whatever, and then you can come home. But when you have your kids, they're with you all the time, especially if you're a stay-at-home mom. And then even if you're not, you work and then you still have to pay attention to the kids and regulate their feelings and not even have been able to regulate your own. There's one particular story that was really huge to me because one of the things that I've realized is that give yourself time to change or give yourself time to figure something out. So when my son and my daughter are almost 3 years apart. And so my son, I had just had my daughter. My son was very difficult, not as far as like difficult, but he was very active. So I'd never had any downtime. And so one time I just lost it because he was misbehaving. My daughter was not doing her naps how they were, and I lost it on him and I was just screaming at him. And I just all of a sudden I was like, what am I doing? And I ran to my room, I shut the door, I'm down on my floor sobbing. And I was like, Heavenly Father, what I am such the worst person ever. I was like, what do I do? I don't want to be like this. I don't know how to be different. I don't know how not to lose control. And so all of a sudden, the words from this primary psalm came to my thoughts, and it says, be gentle and loving in deed and in thought, for these are the things Jesus taught. And all of a sudden, I was like, oh my goodness, I don't just have to pretend I'm not angry. I need to gentle my own thoughts. But even though I had that like profound moment, it took me quite a lot of years to figure that out. How do you do that? Right. And so even though I knew it and I did much better, and how I started, and it's not going to work for everybody, and I'm still like, I need to now do this for myself again in other areas of my life. But what I did is I would write, I am not going to yell at my children from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock every day. From 9 to 10. If I can just not yell, that was amazing. And then it got to be, we're like, oh, okay, I did it. And then it was like, okay, from 9 to 11, I'm not going to yell. And I don't even remember how long it took, but I remember going, wow, I made it to like 4 o'clock and then didn't have to yell or anything like that. So that was how I kind of got out of that habit. But then it started again when the kids were teenagers. So I had to probably I needed to have gotten something else to figure it out that way. But anyway, so I don't know if that answered the question. I probably forgot some of what you asked, but those were just some big, huge things for me.
No, that was perfect because I think, of course, I haven't gone to the teenage stage. I have a toddler, but it's so true. Like, I sometimes feel that way where, like, you have that moment, you lose it, and you feel like so terrible because, yeah, like we're just regulating all these other emotions around us. And sometimes many of us as moms, we're also maybe going through things in our marriage. So we're trying to regulate our spouse's emotions. And then we have our children's emotions, whether a teenager or a toddler, both are hard, or even infants, and then like sometimes because you don't have time to regulate your emotions, that's where it kind of projects on the kids or projects on your spouse. And so I love that idea of like, okay, if I can just get to 2 hours a day, I'm going to use that because that I think is, I think that's why, like, first of all, that's why I started this podcast, is because moms need to hear that we're all going through this and we need to give ourselves that grace, like you said, being gentle with ourselves and learn to recognize. And so as you went through that path, how did you continue to find that grace in yourself? And how did you have the Lord help? Like, how did you involve the Lord in that? Like, what does that look like for a stay-at-home mom or a work-from-home mom, to handle your own emotions and be able to handle everyone else's? Like, how do you involve the Lord in that process?
How I involve the Lord, I don't know. Like going back to what how you introduced me, my papa. So like one time I remember riding with my papa, and he's like one of the last cowboys, the last ones that were real true cowboys. And I remember riding home up to the White Mountain. We had a permit up there, and we were kind of riding side by side, and it was dark. It was night. We had been riding all day up there. And we were riding back to Cold Creek, our camp, and he goes, it's dark, but if you look up past to where you want to go, you can see. And I was like, oh. And he's right. Even at home, walking around the house when the kids are crying at night and I'm trying to get their bottles, several times I actually, down the hall, I turned early and ran into the wall. So I started using that concept, like don't look where you're going, look up and kind of away from it a little bit higher. And I've always remembered that. But that's how he taught the gospel was as we were going through ranching things or just like, and then my dad took over and was doing that. And so I've just always incorporated the gospel in everything that I've done. And that I think is what has, I don't even know the words for it, but saved me from succumbing to nobody's going to love me. I'm worthless. I'm a bad mom. I'm not good enough. I'm not as good at X, Y, or Z for craft day or something that we all used to do back in the day. And just comparing myself, and the Lord is what helped me through and is what helped guide me. And then my mother-in-law, she got married to my father-in-law. My husband's mom passed away right before we got married, and then we got married, and then they married. But she gave me this book that I have treasured because I think that's what saved me from totally succumbing to all those faulty core beliefs that I had been thinking about myself. And so because of that, it was like a holding place. Like God just wants us to stay there. Just trust that he's there, even in the midst of like I just yelled at my kids today. Or like, for example, when they're teenagers, it's like, oh my goodness, I'm getting you up at 5:30 in the morning so I can take you to seminary. And then I come back in and you're standing in front of the mirror and then I start screaming and yelling because I've made breakfast. Now I'm resentful. I have to drive you there. And now I have to grab you by the neck and put you in the car to get you there. And I can't say I'm not going to take you because it's seminary. It's just that you feel stuck. And but at that moment, and when they were teenagers, I did not know that I was in adrenal fatigue. And so that's where the grace comes for myself. Yes, I yelled. Yes, I did this. But you know what? I was in adrenal fatigue and didn't even know it. So like my mom used to stay up for us and everything. And I was like, I'm going to be that mom. And I was like, I can't stay up. So I'd set my alarm for when they were supposed to be home. And then I get up, check the room, because at least I wanted to be there when they came in if they wanted to talk about what, happened at the dance or something like that. But yeah, just looking back on it is just going, not judging myself so harshly, and then allowing God to love me or trust that He loves me enough that He does want me. So,
Yeah, and that's what I think is so special about the gospel, honestly, because I think as moms, as women of God, that we can be very, very hard on ourselves. We can have this very perfectionist idea, or sometimes we do look up to our moms if we had a really good mom example. I know not all of us do, but a motherly figure in our life, we strive to want to be like them or want to be like Jesus Christ, and we will constantly fall short. So I love that we constantly have to give ourselves grace, or sometimes when there's physical ailments that impact our mental or emotional health, we have to give ourselves a lot of grace there, which I think can be really hard when it comes to postpartum or any other health struggles. So what
mhm.
are some like you've already given us so many good tips and tricks. What are some other tactical tools or tips that you want to share? I don't know if this is something that moms can do just on their own. Something that you've taught me a lot is recognizing, like an emotion and closing your eyes and thinking of a shape and a color that comes from it and filling that shape with that color and letting it go and letting Christ light in. Is that something that moms can do in a meditative state? Like, what would you suggest? Sorry, that was a mouthful question, but in
No,
a
but
sense, tips and
yes,
tricks.
yeah, so to kind of answer your question a little bit and just is after I was done with my own recovery program, that I had all these faulty core beliefs. And they were always saying, because clinically they're like, awareness is amazing. Now just take those faulty core beliefs and just change them. And I probably still need to work on that, but I'm not the type of person that will rewrite something and go, you're amazing, and look in the mirror and say that to myself. That is probably something, like I said, I need to process. But and so I'm just a little more humble than that. I'm going to say humble until I process it, and then I might say ego. I don't know. But anyway, so I doing the shapes and colors and stuff was amazing because I found what I do now. So I graduated in April and I found that program, and that's actually what I do now in May. And the Lord just led me to it. And I had so my let's see, two sisters and a niece took it with us. So what happened is I was like, this is what I want to do. And my one sister had said, I have this friend that is doing this and she needs people to process. And I was like, done. So I took my two kids and just the change that I saw in them, because it gives them or moms that need trying to regulate their own emotions, right? It gave them a place to release it. that was a safe place. Now, I had gone through counseling and clinical stuff for years, and this is so much faster. And that's what I loved about it when you're a mom who has time for years and years of recovery work, right? And so it is just much faster. And so that's why I loved it. And so, yes, shapes and colors work. Meditation does work. But the color, what happens is the color is representing your emotion. And then when you pull that out, it needs somewhere else to go. So that's what the shape is. But yeah, no, that definitely will help regulate. Yep.
I just, I honestly, like moms, if you're listening, the shapes and the colors truly do work. Kathy does an amazing work on that because it's amazing how visually, for those who are a big visual learner, having those shapes and colors. So you visualize, like, let's say, for example, if you're feeling sad and you close your eyes, you may see blue. For those who kind of try to picture what this looks like, you can visualize the blue. And then maybe there's a teardrop or a heart, shape coming in your mind. You can fill that up and then just release it. And it truly works. I just don't know how to explain it, but it truly works with that.
Yeah.
Um,
And what I love about it too, sorry about to interrupt, but
no, not at all.
um, what I love about it too is that even if you don't visualize well, you can still do it. So I just think something and it is. And so if anybody doesn't have a visual, you just think it. I feel blue, or I feel this, and so it can have. Some people are like I can't visualize, I can't do that, but it's like oh no, you can think it, and so it is. But anyway, just wanted to add that.
No, I appreciate that because my mom's not a visual person, and this is one of the things that frustrates her. And so I think I'm grateful that you offered that tool as well. And so if you could sit across from a mama right now who feels overwhelmed, who feels exhausted, and emotionally stretched thin, what would you want her to hear the most from you or
I
from
would want
this
her to
message?
hear, yeah, I would want her to hear she's not alone. And even though sometimes we don't have the words for it, we don't know what it is, somebody else has felt that and gone through it, and they might not know what it is. When I had my daughter, I did not know I was in postpartum depression. I did not know. And so I am like struggling, and that was part of probably why I was losing it with my kids. But I did a preschool for my son, and then had my nephew and my niece, because all of my sisters we were stay at home, so we had the gift of being able to kind of grow our kids up together. And so I did it, and I remember prepping for the preschool. And one day I was like, oh my goodness. It was like this like literal physical switch happened to me. And I was like, I feel better. And I still didn't really think about what it was until years later that I was like, I think I had postpartum depression because it was so hard to do anything, but I still did it because it was like you pull yourself up by the bootstraps and you move on. And that's just how life was. That's what, I grew up with. And so, everybody, that's what I want them to know is that you're not alone. And if you feel alone, then somebody else has felt that feeling alone, even though they're not alone. And so again, you're not alone.
I think that's one of the biggest messages I also want to spread throughout this podcast is that they are truly not alone and they are loved by a God in heaven who wants to help them. God is perfect and our emotions are beautiful. They're not something to be afraid of or scared of. We shouldn't even push them down. I honestly think that makes them worse. That's why I love how what you've taught me, Kathy, is to recognize them, to validate them, and to give them to the Savior, to give them to Christ and let His light rejuvenate us, to heal us, to replace those heartbreaking emotions that we went through.
Yeah.
And so I'm just so grateful that God provides such amazing tools like this. Like He's not going to send us in this amazing earth experience without the tools that we need to handle these beautiful emotions that He has blessed us with. And so I love these tools so much. And so is there anything, Kathy, that you would want to add or share to these amazing mamas that we haven't talked about today about emotional resilience and how we can continue to be emotionally resilient in our crazy lives?
Yeah, so I was doing last night. I started with two friends. I don't know if anybody has read the book The Artist's Way. It's an amazing program. I love how she says she's very unapologetic about putting God in there. She's like, I'm going to use God in here, and if you don't like it, then you can read another book. But I'm gonna put God in here. But her program is called A Spiritual Path to Higher Creativity. And so we were talking about the chapter two, finding your identity, finding who you are. And I think that's what we're here for. Who are we? Am I a mom? Am I that has to do everything for everybody and I'm non-existent? Or am I a wife that has to do everything for everybody and is non-existent? Where do we fit in, right? And that's finding who we are. And there's one part that my sister had told me, and I still remember this quote, but we're always beating up against something. It's like we're beating our head up against something, and it's frustrating, and it's just drives us crazy or drove me crazy. And there's a quote that she said, and it said, when you surrender to pain, you don't feel it anymore. And it's not giving up, it's surrender. So the example was coming from like if a snake has an animal in its clutches, it's struggling, and all of a sudden it'll just relax and it doesn't feel pain anymore. And so that's something that I would like to add and give is that sometimes when we beat ourselves up or we're beating up against a wall, that makes it harder for us. When we relax and trust that God is with us, it doesn't matter that our circumstances have changed. It just means that we are now learning from the experience and we're not mad about the experience. And that's something else I wanted to say.
I love that. And it's beautiful because it is so hard to surrender to God or to surrender to that situation. Like you said, it's not giving up, but it's letting go of control, and I think that's where we struggle with a lot of our emotions is because we want to control the situation. So when we release it to God, we also are able to have more emotional resiliency from that. And so, Kathi, you've been so amazing today. I'm so grateful that you've been here to help my mamas out. What would be the best way to reach for any of my mamas that want to reach out to you? If there's like an Instagram or an email.
Yeah, I usually just do email, and how I do it is the Lord has people call me or come to me. An example would be I had a lady about 2 weeks ago call me, and she had gotten another friend's card that does what I do 2.5 years ago. And finally called her, got up the courage to call, and my friend is out of the country for 7 weeks. And so she called me up and said, "Hey, can you take this person?" And I all I can say is that the Lord leads people to me. And so if you guys do come to me, I am so excited. But so all I have is an email. I don't have like website. I don't have any of that other. I don't want to say stuff, but I do have an Instagram account, but it's my personal one. But so you can get a hold of me through my email or my phone number.
Perfect. And I'll have that in the show notes for people to reach out to you. Again, thank you so much, Kathi. Thank you for being an inspiration and um, just an example of what it looks like to have grace in our emotional resilience journey. So
Yeah,
love
thank
you
you for having me.
and thanks for coming today.
All right,
And
love you back.
love you back. Did today's episode encourage you or give you something new to think about? If it did, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and share this with another mama who could use a little grace and encouragement today. I can't do this without you, and I'm so grateful for the chance to walk alongside you in the divine chaos that motherhood brings. I want you to remember this: God loves you, He sees you, and He is only a prayer away. God bless, and I'll see you next time on Building Yourself with Grace.